Welcome everybody to this little kickoff video where we're going to go over the upcoming steps for the Nephrology Syndicate in Atlanta. So you're receiving this because you expressed interest in the syndicate. As a reminder, it is free to join and you can leave at any point in time. So there's no commitment at this point in time. Again, you're receiving this because you expressed some interest in joining, and this is the orientation kickoff presentation of how we're going to get started here. So if you, just to review, why we are all here is that there is a problem, generally speaking, with organizations and companies that are a little bit too small to sell. So if you're below $1 million in earnings or EBITDA, there isn't that much opportunity to sell. So it's really a function of size. However, there's a really good opportunity if you can come together through a syndicate, which is what we're going to talk to today, because there's a lot of demand for deal flow. So if you were 600,000, it could become 6 million. All of a sudden, you go from not having much of an opportunity to sell to a great opportunity to sell at good margins. And the way we're going to do this, as we're just highlighting here again, is we're going to take the group of you, which are all individually too small to sell. We're going to bring you together into a syndicate, which is going to allow you to operate separately but sell collectively. And then that's going to allow you to increase deal flow, which is excellent. That's going to provide that deal flow. And ultimately, the purpose for doing all of this is because we want to increase the valuation of all of your organizations. So typically, organizations that are small are going to sell for 1x, and let's say your earnings is 500,000. And through this process, we're looking on average to move that multiple to 4 to 6x, which moves the exit valuation for a $500,000 company to 2 to 3 million. So that's why we're doing all this. And we're doing this through the syndicate value acceleration model. Okay. So one more time, what is the syndicate valuation acceleration model? It's a very simple model where we're going to gather like companies, so in this case, nephrologists, that are too small to sell individually. We're going to package you together while you still operate separately. That's the important thing. You're going to always be operating separately. And then when it comes time and we're ready to go, we'll market and sell you collectively. And again, the goal is to make sure that we significantly move that sales multiple for you. Okay, we reviewed this in the earlier presentation, and also with those that I've met with individually. So there's typically the process is in the first 90 days, we look to form the syndicate. We're going to work on reporting standards. We want to make sure all the reporting looks like you're all operating as one organization. We'll work on your data room, and we will work on providing you that syndicate process dashboard. After that, we'll begin the more deeper due diligence before we go to market. So what this video is focused on is just to give you that sense of the 30-day expectations. So what can you expect in the 30 days? Well, what I like to do in the first 30 days is give you this visual of, in many ways, Angela and I are acting as your personal closet organizers. If you've seen those things where people hire people to clean up their messy closets and get them all neatly organized, that's exactly what we're doing. So the first 30 days is largely positioned around that activity. It's all about making sure that everything is neatly organized for Tom in due diligence and we don't miss anything. And when you go to market, you get the best value possible. So the 30-day focus, there's 4 key actions that we'll be looking at. The first is the syndicate formation. So what we're going to be doing is we're looking to complete all the kickoff calls with you. If you'll notice, you'll receive an email where you have a little survey we're going to ask you to fill out so we know what type of technology and data sources you're using, and then also to schedule a meeting with us the week of March 30th. So we're kicking off officially the week of March 30th. This is just kind of more of a preparatory week. We'll, in the next 30 days, focus on onboarding practices, and then also we're going to be looking to achieve an EBITDA goal between 6 to 8 million in EBITDA. That's kind of the sweet spot where you'll get the highest amount of multiple with the fewest number of practices. Okay, so once we're doing that, we're also going to be working on standardizing your reporting. So that part of that is the data and technology survey, which is included in the email. And then once we have that completed and we've done the onboarding calls, we're going to actually start to connect to the systems to gather up all those critical metrics. And again, we're going to be doing it through our analytics and AI tool, SageForge. So once we have access, you'll have it won't disrupt your day-to-day very much at all. The third thing we'll be working on gets back to kind of the closet organization is data room preparation. So we're going to issue each of you a secure folder link so that as you collect and find information, you can either email it to us or stick it in the folder link. And then we're going to look to collect 2 core sources of information that everybody needs, which is the legal and entity formation documents. So your operating agreement, articles of incorporation, those, your EIN, those types of things, and then also starting to gather the insurance and other policy documentation that's critical for due diligence. And again, if you don't have all this stuff, we'll help you find it. That's part of our role. Again, we're going to get that closet all neatly organized. Then the last thing we're going to do as part of the 30 days, work to get you guys your user login so you have your dashboard access and you can start tracking that EBITDA so you can see where we're going, how we're doing, as well as the checklist activity that we're going on from there. Okay, so just to summarize, for next steps, if you can please complete the data and technology survey by March 29th, which is this upcoming Sunday. It shouldn't take you very long. If you don't know all the answers, that's okay. Leave it blank. We're just trying to get an initial assessment of all the different technologies. And then if you can schedule a kickoff meeting March 30th to April 10th, there is a link in the email as well where you can schedule a calendar invite. Okay. And then finally, I thought I would close with just some of the questions we've collected over the last 2 weeks and go over these really quickly. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to ask. But just as reminders, do you have to tell your staff that you plan to sell? No, not right away. Eventually you will, but in this upcoming next couple of months, you don't have to tell them what's going on. And because we're doing so much of it through technology, we don't need to have a physical presence, so we don't have to let anybody know. Does anyone outside of my practice see my numbers? Outside of Angela and I and Tom, no, nobody sees your numbers. We don't share it with any other practice. It's all kept anonymous. You will see kind of where your EBITDA is against the total aggregate, but you won't see anybody's detail and nobody will see your details. Can my decision to stay anonymous? Some people don't want to let the whole world know that they're selling their company. The answer to that is yes. You're all receiving this because you demonstrated interest. But once you first officially come on, we won't let anybody know. We don't report the roster of everybody who's in there. You're free to disclose it to others, but it's not something that's going to be publicly disclosed or made available. Do I have to pay to join the syndicate? The answer is no. It's free to join and free to leave up to the point of the sale. At which point in time, the company is sold. And then, can I leave the syndicate if I change my mind? Yep. You can leave. You can leave as well. So it doesn't cost you anything to join. It doesn't cost you anything to leave, and you can leave anytime you want. Once the company is sold, is my earnout impacted by other people's performance? So the answer is no, it's not impacted by other practices' performance. But if you are a two-person doctor in a practice, the performance of the other doctor in the practice will impact your earnout. But the other practices, the other actual physical locations that you're not associated with, do not. Post-sale, if someone leaves another practice, am I responsible? No, you're not responsible for backfilling unless it's someone in your practice. But if it's someone in another practice, you're not responsible for that. Do we have to join the syndicate all at the same time? The answer is no. You can join over time. That's part of what our role is to build it up to that 6 to 8 million mark. That's what our goal is. Do we all have to sell at the same time? The answer to that is yes. When it comes time to sell and you've gone to market and you're going to legally transition from one legal entity to another, you do need to all sell at the same time. However, do you all have to quit practicing at the same time? And the answer to that is no. So although the legal structures all transition at the same time, you can have your own employee agreement where you could choose to stay 3 years plus maybe 2 years at halftime, or you could stay the full years at full time and then drop off. So that is part of the process in the transition plan that we'll work with you on. Do we have to change our software system and operations? Nope. You're going to operate separately and sell collectively, so you don't need to change. Do we have to merge and become one company? Nope. That won't happen until the time of sale, but you do not have to merge previous to sale. Do we have to be an MSO? The answer to that is no. You're all going to be operating separately, so there's no reason to form an MSO because that is not required. And then, do we all have to have the same style of practice and therapies? Nope. You can have, so long as you're in the nephrology group, you can have a different mix or a different weight of services and practice therapies or offerings that are slightly different. And then, do we all have to have the same revenue and profit? No. From small to big, it all works. Your earnings or your final sale price is based upon your proportionality of earnings at the time of sale. So you still get to benefit from the value acceleration model. And then, do we all have the same number of doctors? No, you can have a 1 practice to a 3 practice set of doctors. It really just comes down to the thesis for this and they can have different sizes, so you don't have to. And finally, what makes a syndicate different from a traditional broker sale? The biggest difference is we're changing the multiple. So our goal is not to simply take your practice at 500,000 and put it on a listing and hope to get 1x. Our goal is to transform the multiple by using the syndicate value acceleration model, bring you all together so that you operate separately, sell collectively, and you can move from that 1x or that one-time earning to that 4 to 6 times earning, and dramatically change the value of the sale price of your individual practices, and also really get that benefit of return on your legacy and all those years of hard work. And again, the way we're doing that is we are going to take you all that are individually too small to sell, put you all together. So again, you're going to operate separately, but we're going to sell you collectively, and that's going to create that demanded deal flow on the other side and get you those multiples that are that you all deserve. And this is my contact information. There's also contact information in the email. If you need anything else from us, please feel free to contact us at any point in time.